that the app closed on my phone unexpectedly. So I was saying, what I'm experiencing is there's been a repetitive story as to why I have problems in my life for many years. And it feels very real. But as I've done the work, I've got clear as to what the problem really is and where it lies in terms of my life. And the truth is, the true problem, is far greater than the problem I've been fighting all this time. But the way I'm looking at the situation is, if I continue to fight this lie that's a lesser problem, I'm done for a lot sooner. Because if I live the truth, I know if I can get to grips with the truth as much as possible, which is, but the more I can get to grips with it, the stronger I can become. And in that transition, there's going to be a lot of hard work to figure out how strong I really am, instead of one day feeling like I'm Superman and then the next day feeling like I'm about to die. I'm hoping that as long as I'm sticking to the plan of sorry, I'm just rolling a smoke at the same time. Possible. Hopefully, my strength will lie somewhere between death and being Superman. But seeing that fluctuation in my life on a daily basis because I'm living a lie, I'm realizing that I'm probably closer to death than Superman, a lot closer. I'm grateful for anything as long as it's a little bit more stable, a little bit more real. And as I've uttered these words thus far on these two live streams, part 1 and 2, I've regained some strength, because in that transition process from everything telling me I'm experiencing the same thing I've experienced for many years now, which is a lie. To a certain extent, it's a lie. There is elements of truth within it, but the way I'm experiencing it is absolutely a lie. And if I can get to grips with the truth, I believe the way I'm going to experience what I've referred to as the lies thus far is going to be like a sprained ankle when your wife's just left you, you've just got the sack, and your house has burnt down. You're not really going to be thinking about that sprained ankle at all. And it's to get it in perspective. That's the main thing. And once you get it in perspective, if you can imagine yourself in that weird scenario of your wife leaving you or your partner leaving you, your house burning down, and you get in the sack, you're really not going to be thinking about that sprained ankle one little bit. If you've got to walk to the shops, or if you've got to walk to find a hotel or whatever, it's not going to be nice having that sprained ankle. But with the severity of the situation, the body intrinsically finds a way to deal with lesser pains if the mind doesn't have to think about it, because it's proportionate to the pressure and stress of the situation. You'll hop, you'll take a break, it's not a problem. It's like every time you stop, you're not going to be thinking, oh, that bloody sprained ankle, it's ruining my life. Every time you stop, you're going to be thinking about, how am I going to survive? I've just lost my job, depending upon how much you love your partner. Oh, I can't breathe. I love them to the end of the world. All of the things that I've lost in my house. You're not going to be thinking about the sprained ankle one little bit. Still running your life to a certain extent because you stopped, but it's not and that's a very good scenario of where I am. It's like my partner's left me, my house has burnt down, and I've just got the sack. And I've gone insane. And in that insanity, I'm not really thinking about the main problem. I'm thinking about my sprained ankle. But instead of it just being a sprained ankle, it's got amplified about 1 billion times, because to keep those original 3 problems at bay, I've got to summon that amount of energy and focus that amount of energy on a superficial problem, the ankle. I'll probably end up cutting my ankle off in that situation, I believe. But I've sort of gone insane, and I'm sort of focusing on my ankle, and I'm sort of got to the point where I'm about to cut it off, and then I've had this realization. I'm in this process of getting my mind straight and focusing back on that unbearable truth of where my life really is. I'm always going to lose when I find the truth. I'm always going to become weaker as I go to the truth, because I've gone to the ankle because I thought it would make me stronger. But every time I become more and more honest with myself as to the situation, the scenario, it feels like I'm becoming weaker. The ultimate truth is, unless I get to grips with the truth ASAP, I'm always going to be weaker. And to be stronger, I need to go through that process of feeling like I'm becoming weaker. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. And to hear myself say those words is basically what I guess I'm going to be saying over and over on these live streams in one way or another for the next 2-3 weeks, maybe longer, to settle me. Because what was it, 20 minutes ago before I started, as I said, I was about to cut my ankle off. It was getting to the point where I couldn't breathe because of an ankle in a situation where you wouldn't think about the ankle at all. And after saying that, I can look at my life and realize that it truly is an impossible challenge for me. I don't know if you want to hear the extent, but it's like add losing a couple loved ones on top of that scenario. And your wife's just walked out on you because she's cheated on your best friend. No, it's just a bit much. I mean, if you lose a loved one and you truly love them, and you haven't got the emotional, mental awareness to deal with that in the moment, that's really where I'm at. I'm like a teenager who hasn't gained that emotional, mental awareness to life to deal with losing a really close member of the family that they love. So that's where I'm at. That's the situation, and it's not because I've lost a loved one. It's because of my life. It's because of my past. It's because of the world. So for me, that state a teenager might go through in that process, and they might take 5 years, they might take 10 years to get over it. They're going to get over it. I've gone through that in my own past. But the truth is, that state is where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And I'm going to need to learn to breathe and function and find meaning for existence. When in that place, the hope for learning and finding reason for existence is unimaginable. So it's going to be a real hard process for me, but I know I've got the awareness to know I need to do it. And I've been gifted something by, I call it spirit, life, the universe, to run alongside this as a project of interest. And I guess within that project of interest, it's pretty much as interesting a project as you're ever going to get to your own personal ambitions and things you just like about life. So it's pretty much a spot-on gift by spirit to give me as much support as I need. So it's not gonna fill the gap. It's not gonna cover that unbearable truth. But for everything I am, it's basically what I've lived through in my life, through that lie. All those things that I had interest in and I saw as good and I had ambitions for, regardless of the fact they were born from a lie. There was some truth in my relationship to them. So I'm talking about the world, I'm talking about life, I'm talking about some people like cars, really like cars, some people really like cooking, some people just like the opposite sex and nothing else. Some people really like technology, other people really like art, some people really like music. And then you've got your ambitions for what you would like to do in the world. Then you've got your ambitions for what you would like to do financially and what it would mean to you to be a success in this world. And there are a few other factors that I'm talking about on that level. And this project pretty much ticks the box as much as you're pretty much going to get in all of those areas. So it's really like life has given me an impossible task, but for everything that this body has lived for 37 years and has known through that lie, because it really does date back to childhood, I believe. So everything I've known about the world in terms of what we just discussed, life has said, here it is for you. The package to go alongside your journey back to truth. That you know this package is never gonna touch to the extent of what losing a loved one without the ability to comprehend it on an emotional, mental level as a teenager. If someone said at that moment, here's a PlayStation 5, you know what, here's a PlayStation 6, we've been developing this inside, it's not going to mean a thing if they really like computer games. Here's a Lamborghini to a teenager, it's not going to mean a thing. Here's that that model you have on a poster on your wall, it's not going to mean a thing if they're truthful to the extent of the pain of what truly losing a loved one in your teenage years, when you don't have the mental capacity and emotional capacity to deal with it, is going to mean. It's like we're talking about a teenager now, but what we really need to do is fast forward that teenager to my life and imagine that scenario in a 37-year-old. So a 37-year-old has lived their life through materialism. And the extent of the challenge is what it was like to lose a loved one in your teenage years. I mean, a teenager, I believe, because they don't have the mental, emotional capacity, they're going to enter into a lie themselves and go through what I've gone through. They're going to have a mental health disorder, so maybe that PlayStation 6, that Lamborghini, that model is going to be like breathing for them. They're going to feel like they can breathe. But it's not. It's not a thing if they're truthful to dealing with the truth of the pain. How long is that model going to stick around for? How much are they going to be able to drive that Lamborghini before the truth of the situation floods back and makes them crumble? How much are they going to be able to play that PlayStation 6? I wouldn't be surprised if they get addiction disorders to any of those things if they're accepting it in that way. But to me, I've just been given a pseudo £1 trillion, an ability to heal the entire world, and that's the truth. There's a little bit of work to do for that, but that's the truth of what I've been given. And that doesn't mean shit to the extent of the trauma that I can see, because I've been a therapist since the age of about 20, 21. I dealt with depression in my teens and bullying and everything else, and overcame it. And I've had a mental health disorder after becoming a therapist for the last 13 years that I've fought and battled all the way through. I can see the extent of the trauma like nobody can. And I can't see its entirety. All I know is that I don't have the ability to deal with it. And I can compare it to a teenager that wouldn't be able to breathe if they don't enter into a mental health disorder automatically to save their life. Like them losing a loved one. I lost my mum, I've said this before, at the age of 24. I had the mental health disorder 6 months before. I don't know if that was my intuitive side, being spiritual and a therapist, and it came on 6 months before. I was very, very sensitive in terms of energy and everything else. I was an energy therapist, energy work therapist. That's my suspicion of what happened, why I gained a mental health disorder. For 4 years, I couldn't admit my mum had died on any level. 4 years later, in the deepest, darkest parts of my mind, I asked myself the question, can I admit it on any level? I don't know if there was an answer, but it got shut down quicker than you can imagine, because I knew the answer is no. It took me 8 years, and I'm a therapist, and I've overcome a lot of things in my life, and my life has been really shit for the longest time. And it was only because my life is truly that shit that I said to myself, you know what? In everything I've gone through over the past 8.5 years of my mental health disorder, what am I holding on to my mum for? I can accept that she's gone. I know the truth in the moment of the realization of my mum's love for me. If that was to hit me and then her not being here, it would be a case of I'd be back in the place of what a teenager would be going through, back in the place of when my mum just died. I've not really experienced that because of the mental health disorder. Knowing my mum's love and then knowing she's not here. But I know what I've gone through over the past 8 years. And I know to myself that the pain of what I've gone through trumps and has taught me it's not worth it. But then again, I'm a very imperfect human. And I say it now, but I'm not fully aware, and I'm fighting for my life. And I'm very, very weak. And in the moment as I speak now, it feels like I couldn't deal with that. But I believe with a clear mind, I'd be able to deal with it. To deal with what I have in terms of my life and the world and the past that creates my trauma. And my mum is a part of it. And all the loved ones that have passed away along the journey that I haven't been able to mourn in any way are a part of it. And I've lost quite a few loved ones. So I will never overcome it. I don't ever believe. And it will be something to learn to live within. So that's the impossible challenge. Just need to remind myself I'm doing the right thing. And maybe to use my mum as a quick reflection to the present moment when I get lost, to say to myself, look, what you're going through now, imagine your mum has just died. Would this be a problem? And the simple answer is it's a no. So this live stream has been very, very therapeutic and helpful. I hope I can help people with the project I've been given by Spirit. And that's everything my life rests on. So Monday tomorrow, I'm going to be working tonight, I imagine, and tomorrow, and all the way through for the next few years, at the very least.